Welcome back from that short break. You're still watching New Vision TV News. We now take a look at the news around East Africa. We started from Southeast Sudan, where South Sudan President Salva Kiir has unexpectedly sacked his oil minister, Ezekiel Court, after serving nearly 3 years. He has been replaced by Owi Daniel Chwang, formerly the Director General of the Petroleum Ministry. News from Tanzania. The Minister of Health, Amy Mwalimu, has told Tanzanians not to worry about the spread of Ebola. She gave the assurance while reacting to news confirming cases of Ebola in Uganda. In a Twitter message, Mwalimu said that Tanzania is well prepared to combat the virus. Tanzania shares a long border with DR Congo, where an Ebola outbreak has killed nearly 2,000 people. In Rwanda, dairy farmers have received equipment worth $1.3 million to facilitate the handling and transporting milk from farms across the country to collection centers. The equipment includes 25 milk coolers and 16,262 milk cans. This will help phase out the transportation of milk in jerrycans, which affects its quality. Closing off the news around East Africa is a story from Kenya, where leaders are coming up to ask two heads of state to solve the diplomatic spat between Somalia and Kenya. Early this week, Kenya closed the Kiwungu border in Lamu County at the Kenya-Somali border. National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale said Kenya and Somalia have enjoyed a long-standing bond that shouldn't be undermined by a border dispute. He called on President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Somalia counterpart Abdullahi Farmajo to consider brotherhood and neighborhood in ironing out whatever issues have caused the dispute. We now take a look at the stories making news around the world. We started from Sudan, where a new military coup attempt has been thwarted in Sudan, resulting to a detention of at least 68 police officers. The coup attempt targeted the Transitional Military Council, which was created after the ouster of the country's longtime leader, Omar al-Bashir. News from Ethiopia now. Internet blackouts appear to have become a daily occurrence in Ethiopia as the country experiences its third day in a row with no online access. The shutdowns coincided with nationwide school examinations, triggering speculation that authorities have restricted internet access to averting cheating. Let's move on to Britain, where 9 in a row to replace Britain's outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May after one was dropped. Now, the first round of voting was expected as we come on air. New Vision TV will follow this story. All the 313 Conservative lawmakers can vote, and any candidate who does not garner support of 16 colleagues will drop out. If they all clear that hurdle, the one with the lowest number of votes is knocked out. May, who remains Prime Minister, stepped down as party leader on Friday, having failed to deliver her plan of taking Britain out of the European Union after nearly 3 years in the post. News from Yemen. Riyadh accused his ARC for Tehran of ordering a Yemen rebel missile strike which wounded 26 people at a Saudi airport and warned of grave consequences. Yemenis Houthi rebels hit the civilian airport in the popular mountain resort of Abaha in the southwest of the kingdom, damaging the arrivals hall and forcing its closure for several hours. In Japan, cancer-hit badminton star Lee Jong-hui has announced his retirement Thursday, ending a brilliant career in which he collected a swath of honors but never won a world or Olympic title. Lee, who spent a total of 348 weeks as world #1 but lost 6 world and Olympic finals, went, as he called it, quits months after suffering a cancer scare. That is it for the news around the world. I now take you to Lynn Komjishe, who is in studio with Paul Busharizi to analyze further the 40.4 trillion shillings allocated to the financial year 2019-2020 budget.
Last year's budget was 32.7 trillion shillings. This financial year, 2019-2020, is going to be a 41 What happened? What increased? What made it jump to that amount?
Yeah, well, we've seen increases in several things. I think the biggest increase in value terms was of security, which jumped about 75% to 3.6 trillion from last year's 2.1 trillion. There have been overall increases in almost every expenditure thing throughout the year, so that shouldn't be it kind of shouldn't be a surprise. We always keep moving forward.
We should always expect these things.
Yeah. But as usual, the government has maintained its faith in works, or rather pushing money towards infrastructure development in works.
Is it still taking the biggest chunk?
It's still taking the biggest chunk at about 19.8%. Energy and mineral development, where all the dam money goes, has slipped a bit. It still gets a lot more money than last year, because it's getting about 3 trillion this year as compared to 2.4 last year. But it has fallen back in terms of share of the budget.
Okay.
From
Well, if I
second
could take you back, infrastructure keeps taking the biggest chunk. How long is this going to go on?
It's going to go on for a long, long time.
Are we seeing any improvement with this?
No, absolutely. I heard the other day, I think UNRWA was reporting that they are now at about 4,500 kilometers of road. Wow. This is double from maybe 10 years ago, so there's movement. The idea is that to speed the movement of people, goods and services on these roads, get them quickly from from the producer to the market, and even from the market to the suppliers. So the more these roads improve, the faster that happens, and if things are moving around fast in the economy grows.
Great. Does that affect the agriculture bit?
Yeah, agriculture, it also increased by 22%. The budget increased by 22%, about 1.1 trillion.
Okay.
From last year's about 900 trillion.
Shouldn't it be more?
Well, you know, the argument or the argument government makes is that to see the budget that goes to the agriculture ministry in isolation is to understate how much money goes to agriculture. Because most of these roads are upcountry.
Yes.
And the roads are for moving produce. So that helps agriculture.
All right.
Energy, you know, investing in dams and power generation means that agro-based industry will have power to think. Security. If you have no security, they'll come and steal all your matoke
in the are classified.
No, but they have a job to maintain the security of the country.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know your matoke stays on the thing until you're ready to harvest it. Otherwise, somebody else comes and harvests it for you. So whereas the money to the ministry is so much, it's about 3.2% of the budget.
Right.
But there are all these other things that support agriculture that should really be considered as support to agriculture.
I think all of these things work in tandem with the rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is the other interesting one?
I mean, the most dramatic increment is that to the tourism ministry, which went up to 193 billion shillings from 32 billion last year, so almost more than 6 times it jumped in last year.
That's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going towards marketing and improving training of support staff in the industry. Because as you know, many times now our managers in our hotels and restaurants are Kenyan. We need to change that.
By the way.
Yes, we need to change
that.
So
embarrassing.
So we need to train people. Yes.
Okay, so you think that's all in the tourism industry? Are they trying to, construct any new connections, bridges?
I think those would all be. That's another thing. It's all be covered in works and transport. But yeah, there are also other things like even the security of the national parks. I don't know whether that would come under this budget, but it's possible. We had a scary incident this last year when a tourist was kidnapped in Queen Elizabeth National Park. Yes, so you want to prevent that kind of accident happening again.
Absolutely. There's science and technology. Doesn't innovation come under this? Innovations, yes.
It should. Yeah, actually, it's a Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry.
Yes. Now, I'm wondering, I mean, innovation should be part of like every sector. But I see there's little money allocated.
They're giving it about 0.6% of the budget. Well, I think what it is really is this ministry is not expected to do things, but it's expected to create the environment for people to do things. So I imagine this money goes towards legislation, enabling legislation, some bit of regulation, and maybe some bit of incubation, where they support small.
So it's in other words, the innovation levels are still on a low.
Absolutely. I think obviously this will grow. If we come back to the budget in 10 years, I'm sure this will be much higher than it is now.
Absolutely.
After we've sorted out our roads and our power.
The other interesting one is health. What about it?
Well, health, it's like everything else, it's in a growth in its allocation to 2.6 trillion from 2.3 trillion last year. But then, as a proportion of the budget, it has fallen to 8% from 9.2.
Yes. There's a drop.
I would have to understand the details of this, but I suspect there's less work the health ministry is doing now. They've had a big drive to upgrade and build hospitals, referral hospitals. Those are more or less finished now, so maybe
and now
they
there's
don't
an
need
Ebola
as much.
scare.
Well, it's just.
Are they prepared?
No, I think people shouldn't blow it out of proportion in the sense that we've been on alert for many months because it's been going on in the Congo for a while. A handful of people cross the border with suspected symptoms, and they've been isolated. It will be sorted out.
So there's usually a budget for emergency cases.
No, absolutely. And for a case like Ebola, if we were to overshoot our health, if the health budget was not enough, I don't think we'd have a problem getting more money from Parliament to sort that out.
Yes, true. That's true. So we look forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lynn and Paul, for that insight. We now take a look at our Daily Pearl of Africa series. Today it is Lake MBURO National Park. Now feel the wild in the heart of Lake MBURO National Park. The sounds generated from the birds and the wind from Lake MBURO blowing through the park creates a priceless moment one cannot find anywhere in the wilderness. Let's take a look. Through the wild in the heart of Lake MBURO National Park, the sounds generated from the birds and the wind from Lake MBURO blowing through the park create a priceless moment one cannot find anywhere in the wilderness. After a 4-hour drive from Kampala, Uganda's capital city, through Masaka, Lyantonde to Kiruhura district is where you can find Lake MBURO National Park. This water is for Lake MBURO, from which the national park derives its name. The spacious grounds at Lake MBURO Park make it a unique game reserve where people can hike, engage in mountain biking, and also horseback riding safaris within the outside of the park. This combination makes the park a perfect place for a short wildlife safari for 2 or 3 days to give a taste of the African wilderness in Uganda.
We arrived yesterday here in the park. It's the first national park in Uganda for us, and yeah, that was quite amazing. Changing from the cities and the villages on the road into this countryside with so many animals. I would never expect to see so many on the first day, like impalas. We saw giraffe, we saw buffalo.
These trees provide shelter. While resting in any of them, activities such as meditating, picnics, camping, wedding parties, barbecue, drink-ups should be thought about. Not so common in the wilderness is cooked and delicious food. Even though some tourists prefer to prepare their own, this restaurant prepares all local dishes and international dishes. Just take a look at this. As the sun sets, recounting the adventures you have encountered, this can be topped by the feel of sound of the wind that blows across the park. And lest we forget, Lake MBURO is referred to as the whispers of the wild. And this is it for Lake MBURO National Park. So find time and visit this adventurous national park. So till next time, I am your pal guide, Ruthie Naseje. For more Pal of Africa stories, visit our website, which is newvision.co.eu/Pal of Africa. Our newspaper, The Sunday Vision, is also another home of adventures. Grab your copy every Sunday for Pal of Africa stories. Now that is it we had for you. Remember, you can get more news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.eu/video. Our social media platforms: Facebook is The New Vision, Twitter is @NewVisionWire, Instagram is @NewVisionWire, and our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth the Voice. Have a good night, but we end with a fact file.